Okay, guys. So, hi everybody. You're very welcome today joining us. We're delighted to have Natalie Pavione from the Sustainable Life Skill joining us today as part of Dublin Climate Action Week. Natalie and her partner in crime, Diane O'Connor, are the Sustainable Life Skill, and they're just a real powerhouse of sustainability. Two experts, who know a lot about the many ways of sustainability, but also I think they're great with the very approachable, engaging way, and they do lots of great fun workshops and stuff. And I've had the pleasure of working quite a few times with the pair of them over the years, and they're great. So today, obviously, we're looking at sustainable fashion. And so Natalie and Diane run the Sustainable Life Skill. As I say, it's a social enterprise, and you're just delighted to have you here. So now I'll hand over to yourself, and if you take it away, and thanks again, everybody, for joining. Cheers.
Thanks a million, Gary, and thank you everybody for joining me. I'm really excited to deliver this session for you as part of Climate Action Week. So I'm gonna share a few my slides. Can you see okay?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
great. Well, Gary's done a great job at introducing the sustainable life skill, but this is me and Diane. So yeah, we've set it up in 2020, and our mission really has been to help people at work and in their communities to take action on climate by learning how to live more sustainably and really highlighting the benefits that you have by making those changes, whether it's saving money or being part of a community and making new friends, with the added benefit of doing something positive for the planet. So we deliver many sessions like this one that I'm delivering for you today on the various topics, from reducing plastic to how to be eating in a more climate friendly way. And then we also run events and we develop content. So today I'm going to talk to you about sustainable fashion, what it is, and we always like to start with the problems because we feel that it's important to know what the issues are, so that most importantly we can take action, and knowledge really can fuel motivation. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the problems, and then it's mostly about the solutions and what we can do to make a change. So in terms of fashion and the link between the climate crisis, so on this slide you can really see where the emissions come from in the various phases of where our clothes are made of. So from the start you can see that a lot of oil is actually fossil fuel is extracted to make textiles. As you may have heard already, over 60% of our clothes are made of synthetic material, which is essentially is fossil fuel. And then we also have a heavy use of pesticides in cotton, again, kind of increasing CO2. And then we have the manufacturing of our clothes. So most of our clothes are still made in faraway countries that unfortunately don't run on renewable energies, but they're still relying on oil and gas and coal to run those factories. And then on the other side of this picture, you'll see that's our own use. So the emissions that we emit when we wash our clothes. So if you think about billions of people using their washing machines, and then also something that maybe hasn't been talked about a lot is the emissions that come from when clothes end up in landfills. And I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit more details. In this photo also, what's missing is all the planes that are used to transport the clothes, especially from fast fashion brands. Zara, for example, is responsible for 1,700 flights per year from their center in Spain across the world. So that also has kind of an impact in terms of the mission. And then we have another, from an environmental point of view, we have a reliance on water. The fashion industry is only second after agriculture in the amount of water that it requires to produce clothes. So just to give you an example here, one t-shirt and one pair of jeans requires over 20,000 liters of water, and that doesn't take into consideration the water that we use when we wash our clothes. So that's just production. And then the waste. So this is something that thankfully has been talked about. So it's estimated between 75 and 150 billion items of clothes are produced each year. And sadly, nearly 3/5 of those clothes produced end up in incinerators or landfills within months of being made. So just to kind of bring things into an Irish perspective, and feel free to unmute yourselves or use the chat function. How many tons of textiles do you think go to landfill in Ireland every year? If you had to guess, is it over 15,000, over 42, or over 100? Now I can't see the chat function from when I'm sharing slides, so Gary, if you can tell me if there are any guesses.
April's guessing 100,000.
Yeah.
Over
Over
100,000 from Jacqueline.
42,000 maybe.
Yeah, so April is correct. It is over 100,000. So over 100,000 tons go into a landfill incinerator. So these are clothes that are actually textile that are found in our black bins. There is a law now into place where we're not allowed to put textiles into our black bins, because textiles obviously are a precious resource. And so I'm gonna tell you, share some ways that how we can donate clothes that we no longer love. But also what we give away. We bring 40,000 tons in textile bags, and over 17,000 tons we bring to charities. Now, giving to charity it's good. However, we can't think of charity shops as a way out of kind of getting rid of our clothes, because unfortunately, charity shops are only able to sell less than 50% of what we're currently donating. The rest is sold to commercial textile recycler and exporter. So they're still getting exported, some of them, when you bring them to charity. So it's just not to think of the charity shop as a kind of a way out from the way that we're consuming the clothes. Unfortunately, only 1% of the clothes that we bring to textile banks are recycled into new material, and that's because of how clothes are made. So most clothes are made of a blend of materials. So you might have a cotton t-shirt or a top mixed with polyester, and so the technology isn't there at the moment to separate those fibers and make them into new textiles. But the fashion industry and recyclers are working on technology and innovation to see if this could increase. So earlier I mentioned about the plastic, about the reliance on fossil fuels. So why it's so important, why this is a kind of a problem, is because when clothes are in landfill, they emit methane, which is a very potent greenhouse gas. And it really makes a difference what the clothes are made of, because it will dictate how long it will take for them to decompose in landfill. So for example, a polyester dress could take up to 200 years, which is the same essentially as, a nappy or a toothbrush, which could take actually 500 years. So if you're choosing natural material, for example, if you have cotton socks or wool or linen, that's going to take a few months. So as opposed to kind of such a long time. And then you may have heard as well that when we wash synthetic clothes, they shed these tiny bits of fabrics called microfibers. And unfortunately, a big percentage of plastic in the ocean is due to us washing clothes. So to kind of a solution for that, there's a few things that you can do to kind of avoid or reduce microfibers going into the ocean. The first thing is to wash your clothes at 30 degrees. and to avoid using the tumble dryer, because anytime you use a tumble dryer, the extreme heat weakens the fabric of the clothes, and it's more prone to shed when you're washing it. And then if you want to do something extra, you can invest into a special bag called the Goopy Friend bag, which is available in most eco stores, where it's actually a synthetic bag, where you can put all your synthetic material and you put it then in the wash. And that kind of avoids, it catches the microfiber. So after a while that you use it, you can see the microfibers kind of deposited at the corner of the bag, and then you take them and put them into the black bin. So the washing machines of the future will have filters that will catch the microfiber, but this is kind of in the interim things that you can do. So obviously we can't talk about waste without talking about fast fashion, which is why fast fashion brands, which is really the reason, I guess, why we're in this mess when it comes to our clothes. Fast fashion and ultra fast fashion now are producing billions of items made of cheap material that aren't meant to last. And the big problem as well is that they're driving kind of the demand by continuously launching new collection, new trends called micro trends even. So something that might even be trendy just for a month, as opposed to the original 4 season collections that we used to have. So they're really they're kind of made clothes being felt nearly as disposable, essentially. And the fast fashion also has had kind of a human impact. So despite technology and innovation, the fashion industry is still one of the most labor intensive sectors in the world. 430 million people are estimated to work in this sector. The majority are women, and the majority do not still earn a living wage. And things are, there have been laws taking place, but still are things slow to move from a kind of a social point of view. And this is the picture of Rana Plaza, a building that collapsed, and you may remember, in April 2013, and killing over 1,000 people. And it was a big tragedy that really put, I guess, highlighted the workers' conditions on a global kind of landscape. So because of this tragedy, a lot of things have started to change in terms of health and safety for workers. There's a very a great NGO called Fashion Revolution that started because of this, to protect excuse me, workers' rights. But things are moving, but there's still a lot to do when it comes to the social side of the fashion industry. So I wonder if anybody has any questions. I know I've shared a lot of heavy everything. So just want to take a breath and see if anybody has any comments or things that shocked you that you didn't know before. If you want to put it into the chat function, or mute yourselves. All okay. No, I can't see the chat function, so all good.
It's just April was just mentioning Nat, that I think she's surprised at the fact that there's no way, not the wages weren't being paid, decent wages for workers.
Yeah. Yeah, the living wage is still not there. Yes, there's a really good resource NGO called the Clean Clothes Campaign. So April, if you're interested in this area, you can find a lot of information and kind of the progress. Because unfortunately, while the environmental side of things is really kind of being talked about, the social side is something that you really have to go and dig deep yourself to find out how things are progressing. But now, in kind of more the uplifting and more the positive solution. So what can we do? I guess, to change this system. It's really about rethinking our relationship with our clothes moving forward. So we really like at the Sustainable Life School Vivienne Westwood, who was a pioneer of sustainable fashion in the UK. Her motto is buy less, choose well, and make it last. And it's really simple and kind of and helpful to think that way. And also the hierarchy of needs. So use what you have, because the most sustainable clothes are the ones you already have in your wardrobe. Borrow for special occasion, swap, thrift, which is the American for sourcing secondhand, make and buying. And so as you can see, this kind of pyramid reminds me of the pyramid of food, where you have sugar at the top. So I guess buying is the new sugar. So this is kind of an activity that we do in our longer sessions, but it's really to think about when you have an item of clothes that you're not wearing anymore, whether you're bored or it doesn't fit. It's really about thinking about different ways that you could, for example, upcycling it if you like the fabric. So I'm gonna give you a minute to put a few ideas of what you would upcycle this if you could in the chat function. So what could you do with a pair of jeans or this cool Hawaiian shirt, which I would wear as is, I have to be honest. um, so yeah, if you want to put a few ideas of how you might upcycle um, it into it can be something for the home, or it could be something else that you could wear.
So we're getting some good ideas coming in, Nat. So
Yeah,
Rape saying she could make shorts out of the jeans.
yeah, yeah,
Izzy is saying I would cut out the top and then undo the jeans and add strips of the short as panels to make flares. Okay, wow,
oh,
very creative.
nice.
Um, yeah. Amanda saying you could make shorts from the jeans or bags, also bags, cushion covers from the shorts. Yeah, that's a great one. Um,
Yeah,
I mentioned a tote bag maybe from the short. Yeah, Sam is saying also might use the short as a bag instead of using plastic bags.
yes, that's great. Thank you so much, everybody.
There's a few
Yeah, there's
more, I
so
think.
many things. Yeah, there's so many things that you can do. We recently delivered a workshop for students on um, upcycling a pair of jeans that are beyond repair to make diary covers, which is really nice. Just different ways of that you can use textiles. Thank you so much for your ideas. So what to do with the clothes that you no longer love? So we do have a really big waste problem. So what can we do to reduce that? So if you have clothes that are still in great conditions, but you don't want to wear them anymore, you have a few options. Like you can sell them on adverts, Depop or Vinted. You can bring them to a clothes swap, and some of you may have heard of Change Clothes, they are based on Thomas Street in the Digital Hub. So that's a permanent clothes swap shop. You can offer them or swap with friends. You can offer them on a free cycle platform. If they're kids' clothes, check out Let's Match Mums, who matches families with that are in direct provision. So as in, it's a really great social enterprise. And then lastly, charity shops. We really like Oxfam and Vision Ireland. Again, I've put the charity shops down kind of on the list just because they receive so many donations that it's good to think of other ways outside of the charity shop to donate. And then if you have clothes that are not in good condition, so you don't think somebody could wear them, there's a few things that you can do. You can use them as cleaning rags in your home. I use most cotton top or t-shirts that I can't wear anymore as that. You can donate them on zero waste groups, because there's always loads of groups looking for textiles for projects. Or you could look into an upcycle project yourself. If you can see in the photo there, it's a rug made of t-shirt yarn, which is great, and something that could be tried as well with the community. You can also bring clothes that are beyond repair to your charity shops, but your local charity shops. You just need to ask them whether they accept, and then you label them as rags. And ultimately, you can bring them to textile banks as well, just not in the bin. And then just if you are buying something, some other things that you can try before going to replace an item is think about if you could restyle it. So if you really like the fabric, but it can just kind of restyle it into something else. Mend if it's something that, maybe it's just missing a button or it needs, something needs to be fixed. And then for special occasion, like a wedding or a work event, you can maybe ask a friend to borrow, or if you're familiar with Happy Days, they actually rent dresses for special occasions. So these are just a few tips for things without before buying. I guess we wouldn't say never to buy, again, but it's just really to be conscious that every time you spend money, you do have the power to cast your vote for a better and fairer planet. And so just it's really kind of important to think about who you're buying the clothes from, if you're buying new. And we are really, I guess, sometimes, people can feel, but what difference, does it make? And it makes a lot of difference, because the kind of the surge in popularity for secondhand clothes is a mark for really kind of driving change. And on environmental side, it's really been shared. So 10% of the fashion market now is secondhand. And if you can see the new top three kind of fashion retailers in the UK, the third one was Vinted, which is great. It's great to see. And over 160 brands now offer resale. So when brands kind of catch up on a trend and they're doing themselves, it means that something is definitely kind of grabbing their attention. So this is just a proof that when you're buying secondhand, you are really driving change, and we are kind of changing the system, which is amazing. So when you want to buy something new, and to make sure that you're buying from an ethical and environmental conscious brand, there's this website called Good on You that ranks brands by their environmental and ethical point of view, and then they give you as well some alternatives. And they also have really good content if you're interested in sustainable fashion. And then just a few things to, I guess, to consider when you're buying something new is really to say, do I really need it? Do I see myself wearing it often for the foreseeable future? Or is a mini trend something that I've seen on social media that might be not trendy in a couple of months? Check if you're in a shop or in a charity shop even. These obviously apply even when you're buying secondhand. Is it a good quality and fabric? And does it go with my existing garments? Or if I buy this item, do I have to buy something else to go with it? And then lastly, yes, am I buying from an ethical brand? And obviously, if you are in a charity shop, we think that clothes that are already there are worth sourcing. Earlier I was talking about kind of the fabrics and being kind of what they're made of. Really, 60% are made of synthetic materials. These are, you can see, are the most common types of fabrics. So we have natural, which is cotton, hemp, linen, and bamboo, and then animal, silk, wool, and leather. So when it comes to natural, the most sustainable fabrics would be, if you ever see recycled cotton, would be really sustainable, because cotton unfortunately requires a lot of water to grow. So if it's recycled, it's great. And then linen also, it's a really good fabric, especially as we're going into the summer, because it doesn't require a lot of water to grow. And then we have the man-made synthetics like polyester, acrylic yarn, and nylon. And do look out. Well, now you're not going to source a jumper, but if you remember in the winter to do look at the label, because sometimes you might be thinking that you're buying a wool jumper, but then it's actually the majority is synthetic material. And then we have viscose, which is a mix. It's wood that it's really highly kind of mixed with highly with chemicals. So it's kind of a mix between a natural and a man-made material. And then some innovation like lyocell modal, they're actually kind of like viscose. They're made of sustainably sourced wood that use kind of a closed loop production in terms of recycling the water usage. So that would be a better alternative, especially if you're into sports, and you can look out for lyocell instead of polyester, and it'll be better for your body as well when you're exercising, because that's more breathable than a polyester t-shirt, for example. So obviously, at the start, I was giving you, I gave you a lot of kind of negative information about, the fashion industry and the problems that unfortunately we have. But there's a lot of things that we can do personally to change that, as I shared. But also, it's a really exciting time if you're, for example, a designer, or you're interested in innovation, because designing the garments is really where the most important factor going forward, to making sure that the material are sustainable and the clothes can be repairable as well. So it is an exciting time for innovation. These are just a few examples. This is Sampla. They're an Irish company that make runners out of the byproducts of apple skins. And then we have vegan leather made with the leaves of pineapple trees. And then Batoko are a UK brands that make their swimwear out of recycled plastic from the sea. And they're small companies, their patterns are really fun and great to support. So I just wanted to share a few examples of positive kind of developments that are happening in the fashion industry. And then finally, the most important thing you can do is to really take care of your clothes, to invest in ideally in something that you know it's going to last a long time. And your part in taking care of them is in washing less than at 30 degrees, avoiding the tumble dryer, like I said earlier. Close all zips before putting in the washing machine, because the zip can actually cut your clothes and create little holes. Treat stains straight away, and read the care labels and get mending. And we're excited to doing a repair workshops in a little bit to really learn those, really basic skills that are so helpful, like sewing a button or repairing a hole in a garment. And then finally, we like to end the end of our sessions by giving you a change to make. So if you haven't sourced secondhand clothes yet, we'd encourage you to give Preloved a go, to mend an item of clothing, to pledge no buying clothes for 30 days. And the next time that you're outsourcing clothes, try and look for natural materials. So yeah, thank you so much. If anybody has any questions.
That's brilliant. Sam has a question there. Yeah, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi there, guys. Thank you so much for the talk. Very insightful, very lovely. Just so you were mentioning, like some materials might be mixing, so I was just checking my jacket. So it's a leather jacket. Apparently, it has 50% polyester in it as well. So very insightful. But my question was, you mentioned like there are different materials like cotton, linen, and hemp that can be used that are more sustainable, much more natural. So is there any like talk in the fashion industry of promoting these and using less polyester, less plastic, because like you mentioned, most of the clothing might be mixed in, like it might be 50% polyester or 50% cotton. Is there like any trend to remove those and seek out much more natural materials?
Yeah, like I think the fashion brands, fashion houses are looking into, some of them are looking into alternative. Like there'll be company like the ultra fast fashion brands like Temu and Shein. They're definitely not looking into this because unfortunately polyester synthetic material is a lot cheaper to produce than natural than sourcing natural material. So there will be definitely some companies that where there'll be a big effort in making sure that they're integrating more sustainable materials, but it's been very slow, unfortunately, to happen because our reliance on synthetic material and plastic, like in our other areas of our life, it's so big that it's requiring a lot of system changes, I suppose. But yeah, like I think there are definitely, like I was showing you the kind of the innovation, there's a lot of companies that are looking into alternative materials, like byproducts of food waste and things like that. So hopefully in time it will, all our textile will be made of material that will last and doesn't have a negative impact on the environment.
Okay, okay, grand. And as far as the social impact is concerned, like you mentioned, some of the other countries that are producing the textile, they're not being done in like a good environment. So apart from like raising awareness, do you think there's other factors we could take or other steps we could implement to like not use or maybe promote more better environment for these workers?
I mean, I guess being informed is the number one thing, because it's not something that it's continuously talked about. So really kind of following the fashion revolution and the clean clothes campaign. In terms of what we can do for the workers, unfortunately, I think it's mostly kind of as a consumer is to choose brands that are treating their workers right. A lot of the changes need to come from legislation, and there are things happening at the EU level. There was a law called the Accord law that a lot of, like, over 100 brands signed, just to again to increase the transparency in the supply chain, because the fashion industry supply chain is super complex, so it's difficult to have total transparency. But I think by going into the company websites and checking if they have the right, I guess, part of the right alliance, you can find out, and I guess you can vote with your money, I suppose.
All right, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. They're really good questions.
Thanks everybody, and thanks Nat. And I think that's a really good note to finish on. That we do have some power ourselves to make change. So
Yeah.
voting with our pockets. And so yeah, there's lots of messages coming and say thanks as well, Nat, in the chat. So just to wrap up, I'm just conscious of the time and say, yeah, just agreeing with everybody. Thank you so much. Nat, that was really interesting, really insightful. Definitely took some stuff there myself as well. Didn't realize zipping the clothes before you wash them helps protect them. That's a great one. And I'd never heard of lyocell either, so that's another one I'm going to look out for. So yeah, and listen, as I mentioned, Nat will be joining us to lead a repair workshop today in County Hall in Tallaght from 12 to 2, sorry, and there's a link in the chat to that event. There's lots of other events throughout the week on Dublin Climate Action Week.ie. And with that, we'll say goodbye, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thanks once again, Nat, for a great presentation.
Oh, thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks.